All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Northern Now, the digital event series presented by NMU Alumni Relations for our alumni and friends. My name is Kylie Bunting. I'm the Director of Alumni and Foundations Communications here at Northern Michigan University, and I'm really glad that you have joined for tonight's Talk with Tessman event. We're excited to continue this series and have the opportunity for you to hear directly from President Tessman. But first, I just want to talk through a couple of logistics. So we are unable to see and hear you in this webinar format, but we certainly want to hear from you. So please use the Q&A section. We'll be monitoring that throughout the program. If you have any questions or comments for President Tessman, share them there. And we've received a great number of questions ahead of time, so we'll try to get to as many of them as we possibly can, both the ones that you sent it ahead of time and the ones that you send through Q&A via Zoom. And then use the chat function too. So chat with fellow Wildcats that are tuning in. Note the chat window, there's a drop menu that sends chats to hosts and panelists. That's the default. So make sure you change it to send it to everybody so you can chat with everybody who's tuning in. Some upcoming events, just a quick note that we will be doing talks with Tessman once a semester, so keep an eye on your email and on our website. We'll book one of these sometime in the fall as well, probably following homecoming. We also have several NMU Alumni Days on the calendar for 2024, including with the Green Bay Gamblers, the West Michigan Whitecaps, the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, and a spring training game with the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll also be adding some additional in-person dates for you to meet with President Tessman, with several stops in Florida, as well as Washington, D.C. and Lower Michigan. And then save the date, Homecoming 2024, which will also be a celebration of NMU's 125th anniversary, will take place Thursday, September 19th through Saturday, September 21. Keep an eye on your email or social media to keep up with all those things coming up. I also just want to quickly mention Wildcats Connect, which is a platform for our alumni and students to ask and offer advice. This is a really great way for you to help out NMU students, stay connected to the university, and also get in touch with your fellow alumni. You can visit our website, nmu.edu, for more information and follow us on social media. So now I would like to hand it over to 1993 music education graduate and NMU Alumni Advisory Board President, Chris Charbonneau. Hi, Chris.
Thank you, Kylie. Welcome, everybody, to all of our alumni across the country. It's great to see so many of you joining us tonight for this great event with Dr. Tessman. Our Alumni Advisory Board and the NMU Alumni Office are here to support you at every stage of your life, whether it's landing your first job, tying a knot, welcoming a new member to your family, achieving a professional milestone. We want to know about it. Your achievements are a testament to the exceptional individuals that NMU fosters, and we take pride in every success story. So keep us informed. As Kylie just mentioned, make sure you check out the Wildcats Connect platform. It is a great resource for you to help other Wildcats and just stay connected to what's going on. And finally, whether you join us for an event virtually or in person, choose to help a current student or simply wear your favorite NMU sweatshirt. Thank you for staying connected to NMU. I had the privilege of meeting Brock Tessman at homecoming last year when I was up for alumni advisory board duties, and we got to chat a few times at that event, and it was great. And then since then, I've been able to see him in Grand Rapids, introducing him in an alumni event there, at the NMU night at the Red Wings game at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. We had a huge turnout of alumni, and I was able to introduce him there, spoke at his investiture, and then spent some time with him just last month when I flew to Marquette for some business for this board as well. And I just could not be more impressed with what he's already done during his tenure at Northern and what I know he's going to do. He's very, very committed to not just the university and its current students and faculty and staff, but alumni are very important to him. And for me and for what I do and what all of us feel, that is great to hear. He's just a great guy to talk with. So if you've never heard him talk before, you're going to love this tonight. He's just a really great guy to listen to. He has a great vision for Northern, and I'm really excited to be here and hear what he has to say tonight. So please welcome the 17th president of Northern Michigan University, Dr. Brock Tessman.
All right. Chris, that introduction was way too kind, but I thank you for it. And holy smokes, hearing you go through the number of times you've had a chance to get together, you know, it does highlight the level of activity I think that we've seen from our alumni, certainly in the local area here in Marquette and on campus, but also downstate, really across the country. In at the highest level. You mentioned the business you came back for. You just gave a great presentation to our board of trustees last month, I guess. And so the activity level is very high with our alumni advisory board, I think with our alumni in general. And I have to share with everyone who's watching or listening that there are certain things that stand out when you start a job like this, and in the first couple of months, there are always those landmark moments. And for me, really, the outreach that I received from our alumni, the interactions I had with our alumni in the first month or so of taking the job were definitive for me and highlighted how much that the alumni community is, if not unique, it's a really distinct aspect of Northern. Very clearly, everyone's time here on campus transcends the time that you spent here as a student. It's gone on in the form of lifelong friendships, certainly support for the university and as our of our students who are looking to pursue a professional opportunity or pursue mentorship through the Wildcat Connect network. It's really been outstanding. So I want to say, before I start with anything else, thank you so much to all the alumni who are part of this session tonight. There are 75,000 or so alumni around, obviously not all of them on the webinar tonight, but you feel that as president of NMU, how strong that alumni group is. And Chris, I have to give you very specific credit and a big shout out for injecting a whole lot of energy into the advisory board and into the alumni in general during your time as president. Of course, Kylie and Robin Still and Kelsey Lynch and others who work here on campus for alumni relations also deserve a ton of credit. So I was asked to provide just a quick update on things that are happening at Northern. And I have to tell you, I'm very proud to say that it's difficult to give a quick update about all the good things that are happening at Northern because there's a whole lot happening at Northern right now. And the vast majority of it is good. We're a big organization. You all know this. You remember it. About 7,500 students at this point, 1,000 plus employees, obviously a lot of community partners, and not everything is perfect. Okay. We're complex. There are things we're going to be working on. That's true of any organization. That said, the fundamentals are headed in such a fantastic direction. And I feel so privileged. I mean, so lucky to be joining the university at this pivotal time. About a year in, my family and I moved here January 2nd of last year. So our family's been here for a bit more than a year, but I started formally in the role on February 1st. And so I'm about a year in, and in addition to the kind of developments on campus and in the professional side of things, you all as alumni will appreciate, of course, that being a human being in Marquette in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is a privilege unto itself. And so in addition to all of the things going well on campus, my family and I, my wife, Kristen, daughter, Frances, who's 8, and daughter, Leona, who's 6, we just love it here. And certainly the community part of this place, in addition to the natural setting, plays a big role in that. So I feel very privileged to be in this position. And like I said, very happy to be leading this university when the fundamentals are in such good shape. And let me just give you a couple of examples. Perhaps during the Q&A, we can dive into more depth, but I don't want to overwhelm you with good news. So, this place, it starts and it ends with the quality of the educational experience that our students have. We're an institution of higher education. That's what we're all about. And you have a hard time picking which examples you want to share with a group like this when you're looking for good news. But just as a couple bits of good news that highlight the way that our faculty work with our students. Last month, about a month and a half or so ago, our Earth, Environmental, and Geographical Sciences department took a group of about 8 or 10 students down to Chicago to present at a conference there, a professional level conference, which is a rare opportunity for an undergraduate student. And it's rare that a member of the faculty would spend time doing that. They did it. They took that group down there. And I'm not kidding you. There are 3 or 4 award-winning presentations that our students gave in Chicago, and award-winning at like the graduate student level, not the undergraduate student level. And I heard about that, and just it helped underscore how much that connection between our faculty and our students pays off. And there are examples like that across this campus. So many examples over in the Jacobetti complex with some of our workforce and career tech programs, really working with students one-on-one, helping them get ready for their first job and equipping them with skills that'll benefit them for an entire career. And it's not just in the sciences and the trades. Another great example, we had a group of students in our theater and dance program recognized with admission into kind of a national level academy where they take young and up and coming theater and dance students and really track them through a very high level program. It's a very selective kind of program, and really proud to see our faculty work with our students and secure that honor. So the quality of the educational experience and the training experience, if it's been better in the past, I mean, fantastic, because I can tell you it's at a very high level now, and it starts and ends with that. The other fundamentals that really matter, I'm the CEO of this university, so it'd be foolish for me to not every single day think about our bottom line. I mean, that is ultimately what determines our sustainability, what determines our opportunity to continue giving that high quality education to our students. And the bottom line is really solid right now. Northern was not immune to a lot of the challenges of COVID. Northern's not been immune to what's been kind of a decade-long deterioration of enrollment at the college level. But Northern stands out because of the way we've rebounded. And this past fall, we had I think the largest incoming class we've had in more than half a dozen years. Our enrollment is not declining. Our enrollment is growing. And in the fall, it ticked up about 3%, which is basically unheard of for a medium-sized regional public university in a rural part of the Midwest. In fact, I would say we might stand out among any regional university in the Midwest for that enrollment number. And we're not to the finish line for our winter term census date, which will be in about 2 weeks. But it appears as though our enrollment's going to tick up even higher than that for this winter term. So, that's not the be all end all. It's a number, but it actually really does matter. I mean, it determines many, many things about our budgetary stability. It dictates morale on campus, our faculty, our staff. They're able to kind of maintain a growth mindset and think about investment rather than worrying about the security of their jobs, for example. And so there are a lot of good things going into that. We have a focus, of course, on retention and completion. So many more of our students who are choosing Northern are staying at Northern and coming back one semester after another, and that's really generating a lot of positive enrollment growth. We're thinking a lot about well-being, kind of building a sense of belonging on campus. And I think that the sense of community on campus is very strong. And then we're really thinking about purpose, and that's about career development, kind of the hard nail. Why are you here? What are you getting out of it side of the equation? And we're making a lot of progress on that front as well with career development, job placement. So really good news on that front. I can dive deeper into the numbers if folks are interested. Of course, if you've been paying attention at all to some news releases from Northern, or if you've been back on campus, this place is beautiful. We've got fantastic buildings, and we're just really rehabbing space and redesigning space and updating space almost every single month to really meaningful impact. This past fall alone, we opened the Jacobetti complex, renovated the renovated Jacobetti complex, which is sort of the heartbeat of our workforce development efforts. We cut the ribbon on the Bear Center, which is a community resource for students and young folks with some developmental disabilities, and we work with them. Importantly, we opened our well-being center, which is really about connecting our kind of physical traditional health services, like the doctors on campus, with the counseling and consultation services under one roof, right next to the residence halls and dining halls. That's been fantastic. And I could go on. I'll just say really quickly, we're also totally redesigning Hardin Hall, or the LRC. I think some of you might know it that way. Our library is being redesigned. And on the ground floor of that Hardin Hall, we'll have a new student union space, which I think has been on the list for a long time. And I'm just so excited to see that come to completion in the next couple of years. We're building new laboratory space for our chemistry and biology students and faculty, which should again maximize that interaction. We just secured $14 million from the state for a new College of Business and kind of community economic development center that's going to be right on the academic mall. We're looking at new residence halls. It's a dynamic time. Northern is a growing university. We're bucking the trend, and I'm optimistic we'll be able to continue doing that down the road. I don't want to get too long-winded, so I'm just going to wrap up with two more points. And I trust you all will know that I could just be sharing more and more pieces of good news. The first point that I'll wrap up with is about you all. The alumni stories we have are just mind-blowing. I can't get over the accomplishments of our alumni, and then the way that many of our alumni give back to their communities and to Northern. And again, just to pick a few that popped up on the radar over the last couple of weeks. One of them, I was watching the national championship college football game, and I saw that an NMU alumna was honored as the Michigan Teacher of the Year at the game. Nanette Hansen. It was a fantastic honor for Northern, for her, obviously, and a nice thing for the state of Michigan. I have a background in honors education. I used to be a dean of an honors college, and it's really neat to see one of our alumni and alumnus, Chris Kennedy, be named director of the honors program at Francis Marion University. It's another terrific example. And then, oh gosh, this guy's a dynamo. Some of you may know him. Mike Oswald, construction management grad. He's been working his way up in the construction world and was just named CEO of a major construction firm, Hill Wilkinson. And again, the list could go on, but I just want to say, y'all are special. And it's just not a day goes by that I'm not so proud of, or that I'm not proud of what's happening out in the world with NMU alumni. Alumni tend to care a lot about athletics. I care a lot about athletics. I was a college athlete myself. I'm a competitive guy, tend to be pretty easygoing, pretty friendly. But at the end of the day, I really like to win, and I like to win the right way. And I'm proud to say that our athletics programs focus first and foremost on our students as students. They're student athletes. And I think the GPAs we have on our teams tend to outpace our overall student body GPAs. They're good university citizens. They're good community citizens. And certainly we have a ton of high performance to celebrate. Our hockey team is skating through the season, some ups, some downs. That's the way every hockey team, or how every hockey season goes, but the Cats are skating well. Our swimming and diving teams performing at a very high level. Of course, our Nordic skiing team, top notch. Our women's wrestling team, top notch. And some highlights from the fall, our women's soccer team, first ever GLIAC Conference Championship. They hosted the first round of the NCAAs here in Marquette. It was really a magical season, a nice way for that team to really achieve something big. And there's more to come. Both basketball teams are off to, I think, good starts to the season, and we're really getting to the peak part of the season. The next month or so, we'll get down to playoff season, and I expect both teams to be quite competitive. Look, I am going to stop there. I again, thank you for the opportunity to give you an update. I've so enjoyed getting to meet a number of you. We've had a few events across the UP in Houghton, Iron Mountain, and in the Marquette area down in Escanaba as well. Downstate Michigan, Grand Rapids, and in the Detroit area. You got to check out that Red Wings game next year if you didn't make it. And then for those alumni who are checking in from other parts of the country, we were out in Phoenix a little while ago. We'll have an event in Florida here next month, and we're looking to host an event in Washington, D.C. in the near future as well. So it's a big go Cats from Cohodes Hall. Things are good at your university. My email is always open, and I look forward to hearing from you, meeting you, and thank you again for everything you do to support Northern Michigan University. Go Cats. Kylie, happy to take any questions that you got.
Sounds good. We don't have any. I'm just kidding. There are some questions for you. So starting out with, you talked a little bit about this, but what does the future enrollment outlook look for Northern? And then talk a little bit about graduate programs and those plans for the future.
Yeah. And I did give the kind of, 30,000 foot view on enrollment. I'll take the opportunity, Kylie, to say that it is remarkable to be in the position that we're in. And if there were a handbook, I use this kind of occasionally, but if you're a new president, okay, there is no handbook. First of all, it would be nice if there were. There's not a handbook. But if there were a handbook, and you opened it and it said, okay, if you're a regional comprehensive public university president in the Midwest, and you're in a rural remote location, go to page 67. And you went to page 67, in all big capital letters, it would say, do not benchmark your success on enrollment growth, because every headwind in the world is really pushing against enrollment growth for institutions like us. But for a number of reasons, first and foremost, the quality of the experience that students have at Northern and the word on the street around that, first and foremost, because of that, but also because of the fact that Marquette and the UP is a bit more on the map. People are understanding how beautiful this place is. And also because of course, the hard work of our admissions teams and our advising teams. We had a 10% uptick in our entering class last year. We had an uptick in our transfer students. We had big growth in our graduate student population. And as I mentioned, our kind of retention and persistence and completion rates are growing as well. And that's what's adding up to overall enrollment growth. And again, not to be cold-hearted about it, but that is great for the campus atmosphere. It's great for students. It also means, there are more federal dollars, more state dollars, and more tuition dollars coming in to support all of the excellent things we do here. I mentioned graduate programs. They're growing. Now, Northern is, many of you know this. I mean, I think most people know this. We're primarily an undergraduate institution. We have been historically. At the graduate level, we're growing rapidly in the master's area. We have a doctoral of nursing practice program that is really an important program, but primarily we're really looking at the master's programs, and those are growing quickly. A lot of them in the education area, in the sciences like biology, our business programs. I think we need to stay focused there. I'm really excited about something I'll throw out there. It's reasonably new in higher education, but it's a perfect fit for Northern. And you can think of it as a 4+1 program. And it would be a student who comes to Northern because they want to earn their bachelor's degree here. But as they're progressing through their bachelor's degree, if they're doing well, they have an opportunity to take some graduate level, master's level classes, maybe their senior year, maybe one or two their junior year, so that by the time they get their bachelor's degree, they're actually about halfway or more so to the finish line on their master's degree. So they hang in there for one more year. They get that master's degree in 5 years along with their bachelor's degree. We know that that pushes them ahead in terms of career placement. It's also a great thing for Northern. We keep our really fantastic students around for one more year. So there's lots of opportunities for growth there.
Great. You dabbled into it a little bit, but any discussion regarding adding PhD programs at this time?
There is discussion. I think there's been discussion for a number of years. If folks follow along closely or they know people on campus, last year, sort of right around the time that I arrived, there was a faculty decision on a rural leadership PhD program, and it was kind of a tight vote, but ultimately the faculty decided they would hang on it and wait and not support that proposal. And I appreciated that, not because I had opinions on the program one way or another, but I think our faculty understand and respect the commitment that is. Supporting a PhD program, it can mean new faculty lines. It can mean more graduate assistantships. It can mean investing in significant new laboratory space and physical space. So look, I'm a former faculty member. That was kind of my past. I'm very careful to stay out of that realm. I really respect faculty autonomy over the curriculum. I mean, ultimately, I lead this university, so sort of the final say on what we spend money on, that is mine. But there's a whole chain of command there, and the faculty really know our programming best. And so I'm always open-minded about that. And I know that there are some other proposals in the works, and could be that at some point in time we do launch a PhD program. I think it's a huge decision we need to think through carefully.
Yeah. Okay, question that came in through somebody here live. Is NMU exploring the new and or fringe trends to develop new programs like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and data security.
Yeah. Kylie, you've been around me for long enough. If AI comes up as a topic, I can't start talking about it, because if I start talking about it, it's very difficult for me
I'll
to
have to
stop
stop
talking
you.
about
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And it's precisely because of just how immense that subject is, and how much I believe it's going to transform not just the way universities operate, but I mean, our society and what it means to be human. And you know, maybe over an adult beverage or a Diet Coke or something someday, folks on the call can hear me wax philosophical about AI. I can tell you that that's a good example, though. What we did last year, as this was kind of really exploding on the scene, is we brought together a kind of a sort of blue ribbon team of staff and faculty. We have Tony Almond, who's in the history philosophy department and has really been globally visible on this subject, kind of lead the faculty side of the equation. And then Scott Smith, who's in our Center for Teaching and Learning and who's done a lot of work around AI and instruction, led the kind of staff side of it. And so we have this work group going, and they're focusing on, how a university like Northern is going to adjust to the types of assignments that are given to students, concerns about plagiarism, for example, but also the opportunities this opens up for us in terms of the type of research that can be done, the types of new technologies that can be built around AI. So they're working on all of that. I'm very confident that as a university, like operationally, we're going to figure out that world and cope with it. I am, again, most interested in how we ask deep questions like, what does the workforce and the economy look like 15 years down the road? And as a university, what can we do to adjust the types of skills we develop in our students, the courses we offer, so that we stay ahead of the curve? And it's true for the other topics you mentioned, blockchain and kind of security concerns and encryption concerns, data security. Look, I have concerns about that as the leader of the organization, because not a week goes by that you don't hear about a university that's subjected to a ransomware attack or something like that. But I also know that places like the Upper Peninsula, there are medium and small sized businesses. I don't know whether the term is good or not, but kind of mom and pop businesses across all of Upper Michigan who are also vulnerable to this kind of attack. And most of them, they don't have in-house kind of tech people full-time. And so Northern can play a role as a community service, kind of community engagement piece, by offering assistance and expertise to the local economy and business leaders. And so I'm excited for that kind of potential.
Great. That sort of leads us into a question that came in during registration. What's the goal for NMU's impact on development of the Marquette economy?
Yeah. The answer to that question always starts with the fact that, we are among the very largest employers in the Central UP. And so it's easy to just kind of skip past that, but our impact on the local economy starts with the fact that we're a huge employer and economic driver, just in terms of the talent, the people that we attract and retain in the region. And so when I talk about things like the university is healthy, we're growing, and budget is stable, yeah, that's nice for the organization. It's also a crucial thing to remember for the health of the local economy and really the UP's economy. And I don't say that to pat us on the back or anything. It's just a reality. And actually, if anything, it's a bit of a stress on my shoulders. I want to make sure we maintain stability so we can stay productive members of the local economy, the regional economy. The other thing I'll tell you is that regional universities, it's like, this is in our DNA. Northern is nothing if we are not the driver of community development, workforce development, economic development, health development in the Upper Peninsula. This place, 125 years ago, almost exactly, we're getting to exactly the 125th, started as a normal school, right? A teacher prep school, training teachers so that they could go out and train the next generation of citizens, of course, but also workers and inventors and business owners and tradespeople. And so that is in our DNA. We've, of course, expanded. I like to think of the reality, which is that we equip Upper Michigan's hero professions. I mentioned educators. I mean, certainly that's a heroic profession. Law enforcement, absolutely. And the health professions, and through our nursing programs, allied health professions, surge tech, rad tech, et cetera. And then I'd add a fourth category there. I consider myself in some respects to be not a business owner, but a business steward. I mean, this is a public entity, but I feel a lot of responsibility in leading Northern. But there are hundreds, there are thousands across Upper Michigan, small and medium-sized businesses that really are responsible for the health of their communities. So many of those graduates come from Northern Michigan University. So when we talk about a new Jacobetti complex, or we talk about our health programs or our College of Business, it is about the individual students, but it is also about the role that those students end up playing as they go out across Upper Michigan and beyond and really dictate the economic health of the communities that they live in.
I love that. That leads into this. What are your thoughts on having professors more engaged in the local community with local business owners and leaders?
Yeah. My thoughts are good. My thoughts are positive. I should get out of the habit of always starting with kind of a caveat, but I am in that habit, and I will qualify it by saying that, like our staff and like our students, our faculty are very busy. I mean, we're a teaching institution, so our faculty have heavy teaching loads, and they don't get in there by and large and plug in last year's PowerPoint and just cruise through a semester. That's not what Northern's about. We're about exceptional quality, personalized, tailored, high impact instruction. And so through their instructional responsibilities, creative scholarship and research responsibilities, and through their service on campus, these are busy people. Okay. But this community is too small, and Northern is too big of a player in this community for things to work well without that community service and engagement. And, I visit a lot of community service organizations, whether it's, Kiwanis or Rotary, whether it's local nonprofits, whether it's economic development organizations. And if you walk in one of those rooms and you look at their board or their active members, you will see Northern faculty, Northern staff, occasionally Northern students there. If you go to meetings of the city commission or county commission, and I make no comment about what it is our employees are saying, because they're not there as representatives of Northern, they're there as citizens, but they're active, they're engaged. And I'm so proud of that. I mean, I'm so proud of the fact that the border between Northern Michigan University and Marquette and the UP it's permeable, and in some cases it needs to be, and it should be invisible. That's with our folks getting off campus, to contribute to the community as volunteers, as certainly active members of local democracy and local government. It's also about inviting folks onto campus, and the Bear Center that I mentioned earlier, that's on our campus, but it is absolutely a community resource. It serves thousands of Upers, and actually some folks from outside the state of Michigan when there's space. And that's true for, of course, our athletics programs. I consider those to be kind of the front porch of the university. I've met more people across the UP at Cats games and events than I have on campus, which is a really, predictable thing, but important thing to remember. And then, step foot in Forrest Roberts Theater, or show up for one of our big pitch or mini pitch programs through the College of Business, or come on campus for one of our Lifelong Learning Institute courses. Or you're 62 or older, you can take any class on campus for free. It's an amazing thing. One of our board members, Steve Lindbergh, says, the one thing about getting old, and I don't know whether Steve's old or not, doesn't look very old to me, but he says he's old. And so Steve says the one good thing about getting old is he can take classes for free at Northern. And it's true. I just see that we're two halves of a whole. There's no way around it. And I love that. I wouldn't want to be part of any kind of university that didn't embrace that.
I think you mentioned that about Steve because he's listening right
now. Oh, I don't know whether I think it's not.
One more just quick chat about some partnerships with the local area, then we'll expand into some other areas. Can you talk about NMU's current partnerships with Marquette area public schools?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, absolutely. So in fact, just on Monday, sat down with the superintendent, the MAP superintendent, Zach Sedgwick. He and I meet with city leaders, and also hospital leadership, the kind of big kind of players in the area. So in those meetings and in other settings, it's just been such a pleasant surprise to see the extent that Northern works with the school district. And a couple of good examples. Some people may know about this, but the middle college program, Marquette Alger area sort of middle college program, where students who are in the trades, and that's loosely defined, but kind of in the trades fields, as high school students can start taking college level classes for credit. And then what they do is they take kind of a 13th year of high school. And by the time they're done with that and graduating from high school, they're also well on their way to a degree or certificate in a high demand kind of workforce development related field. And so that's good for those students. It's actually, of course, very good for the local economy. And it couldn't happen without partnership between the district and Northern and important partners in the community as well. So for example, Eagle Mine has been a big partner of that in that program. Another big area, just to kind of run down a few examples, Northern's got more and more of a national profile. I don't know if our alumni all get that, but we're attracting students certainly from around the upper Midwest. Our out-of-state population is about 25%, maybe a little north of that now. But actually more and more students from places like Colorado, Texas, my old stomping grounds in Montana. I met a student from Tennessee and Florida. So we've got that national network going on, and I'm proud of that. This place will never forget that we're based in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and our first responsibility is to make sure that those doors stay wide open and that we're reaching out to local high schools, our regional districts first and foremost. And so we partner with our districts as much as we can in terms of just raising awareness about the value of higher education, making sure that students appreciate what is right in their backyard, because it is a gem. And so excited to see those numbers in the local districts continue to grow. The last example, Kylie, because this is one that people probably don't know about. Obviously, school safety is a big concern. Campus safety is a big concern for me. School safety for our schools in the district. And because Northern has made so many advances on the campus safety side of things with camera technology, locking technology, emergency alerts, we've actually partnered with Marquette Senior High School, which is right next door, and worked with them to install a lot of that technology and actually integrate our systems. We are so close that actually a lot of the first response, if something happened at the high school, would be from Northern. A lot of the first response, if something happened here, would be from local police and the high school. So it's a good example of kind of a practical connection we have with the local district, and certainly so appreciative of the partnership I have with Zach, Superintendent Sedgwick. Sorry. Yeah,
that's great. Also, something that I think is really great that I'll plug here too is there are several summer camps that take place on our campus. The one that's popping into my mind because I just shared it with alumni is the Gen Cyber summer camp that's open to high school students from everywhere. Students come and live on our campus for 2 weeks and get to experience classes, get to experience the dorms, food, all those things, and it's a really great opportunity to get students on our campus early and hopefully turn them into Wildcats.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, Kylie. And there are a few examples of that. That's a terrific one, and always like in high demand.
Yeah.
And just I'll be 10 seconds or 15 seconds on this. Summer is such an important question. In 8 years, we'll be on this call. I'll be weathered and stressed and work, but I'll also be so excited because I'm convinced in 8 years we can do magical things in the summer. It blows my mind sometimes that we have this beautiful natural setting, this whole campus, and all the buildings are here. I mean, the lights are on, we're around, and we do offer lots of good summer programming. We can do so much more. And some of that can be on recruiting new students. Some of it can be offering courses to students who are already enrolled in Northern. So keep an eye out for big news on that kind of over the next, set of years.
Yeah, I agree. Does any of you have a plan for employee housing options?
Beforehand, I said you could ask me a tough one, and that'd be okay.
You did tell me that.
This was not on us. No, I laugh. I mean, I don't laugh because it's in any way funny. I mean, it is. look, our family moved from Montana, and we were out in places like Missoula and Bozeman and Helena most recently. These like exploding housing markets. And we thought when we left Montana, we would come to a place that was, sort of back in reality. And I'll tell you, it's maybe not quite as extreme here in Marquette, but it is very challenging here. We were surprised by that. And practically speaking, this is a big challenge and a top priority. We absolutely lose out on recruiting talent here, staff and faculty, and we lose current employees, faculty and staff, because housing has become unaffordable, or they feel like they can't have the quality of life they want in this area. It is tricky to build housing. We're not developers. We are an institution of higher education, but I think we need to put our creativity hat on. And I will tell you that topic has come up. There is no firm plan for that. But as we look to expand our student housing capacity, absolutely in the background, we'll think about ways we can responsibly provide some quality space. I mean, it has to be quality space that would allow for some of our employees to maybe have at the very least a landing spot here while they search for more stable housing. And it could be more than that too. But I just don't want to get out ahead of myself. That's a big investment to take on, and you got to calculate the risk reward. But at this point, the risk is growing because I see it take more and more of a toll on the people who work here every single day.
Yeah. Another question that came in live a few minutes ago. Speaking of the Marquette community, how will the demolition of the hospital near NMU campus affect Northern and the community, and how will both benefit from the new development?
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a great segue from the last question. I don't know exactly sort of how development will be staged there or exactly what's going in next door to campus. If you haven't been back on campus, folks, I mean, that hospital complex is, literally coming down, right? It actually is literally coming down right now. They're working at night in order to make time. And so it's in progress. And I do know that the developer, has plans for different types of housing. And some of it could be apartment style, townhouse style, some single family. I've heard talk, and I don't know this one way or the other, of some senior living or sort of, adult living space. That could help quite a bit in terms of adding supply to the local market. I'm a realist. We got to look at price point too. And I pay attention to that because it has such an impact on Northern. But the hospital property aside, different developments around the community, you see the price points or the estimated price points continue to climb. So the supply is going to come online, but I'm worried about, whether it will actually hit the mark in terms of affordability. And it's a tough game. I'm not a developer. I don't understand the hard numbers there, but certainly excited to see what comes in. It'll be a beautiful kind of like extension of campus in that direction. I know that hospital is a very important part of the community for a few decades, but it was abandoned. And the alternative really was to have that sit there for a few more decades and just kind of crumble before our eyes. So I'm excited to see what goes in there.
Yeah. What are current efforts surrounding recruitment for elderly and disabled students?
Yeah. So, our provost, our interim provost right now, Dale Kaplan, I didn't mention this, but we are going to welcome a new provost to campus on April 1st, Annette Dahlman, who Dr. Dahlman has been a leader at Minnesota State Mankato for about 25 years now in different capacities. And after a highly competitive, it was a global search. We had international candidates, but a very competitive process. And we extended an offer to her. She was absolutely our top choice candidate, and she said yes. So Provost Dahlman will start on April 1st. That said, our current interim provost, Dale Kaplan, for the last 6 months and actually beyond that, has been spearheading a project called Campus for All, which is about making Northern both physically and digitally a much more accessible place. And like any university of this size, we have things we really stand out on, and then we have some things that we need to work on. And right now, we're working with our facilities and kind of engineering crew to document our kind of accessibility map and see if there are improvements to building access, external and internal, kind of campus transportation changes that we can make, so that, folks, regardless of physical ability, are able to get to class, get back to their residential situation relatively seamlessly. I did mention some of that extends to the digital realm and the way that we post documents and the way that events like this are held and whether there's captioning or not. And some of those things are kind of very high bars to clear, but I know that project is designed with that kind of goal in mind. The term elderly, I mean, I don't know how you want to you frame that term, but in terms of the kind of 55 plus or 65 plus crew, we stand out. We can do more, but we stand out. I mean, the fact that you can take classes for free at Northern if you're 62 or older is a big deal. Our Lifelong Learning Institute is, I think, quite effective. I know, always looking to grow. I'll tell you, there are external funding opportunities that allow us to expand programming even more, and I'm interested in those. When I was at an honors college in Montana, a program that I kind of got the wheels spinning on and ultimately launched was a intergenerational programming idea where, you would bring together around topics like privacy or technology or democracy, the 62 plus, 65 plus crowd with the 18 to 22 crowd. And there would be an instructor in front of the class, and you kind of construct courses so that those generations could hear from each other and learn from each other. And it was just this fascinating outcome. And I'd love for us to do things like that on this campus. I'm sure it happens. We have, of course, adult students in our classes, but in a more kind of intentional, organized way, I think there are benefits there.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the status of the speech pathology program?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, that I'm a little removed from the nuts and bolts there, but it was funny because actually, when I learned about speech pathology at NMU, it mirrored some of my experiences in Montana, where I worked more directly on academics. But our program went away for a while, and there were reasons with that. I mean, it's an expensive program to run. It can be difficult to attract and retain the quality faculty that we need. And certainly the sort of standards, accreditation and regulatory standards are high. But Northern brought it back. I mean, well in advance of my arrival here. And undergraduate status of that program, I think, is very strong. I mean, in terms of the number of majors and what we'll be able to produce in terms of much needed professionals across Upper Michigan and beyond. I believe there are plans for our graduate program as well. And it's been a little slower to start at the graduate level. Again, you got to find the right faculty. COVID was challenging on that front. And it's just a tight labor market for those faculty. I know this. And just to be kind of candid with this crowd, look, it's kind of like computer science or some of the trades departments. Folks who are qualified to teach in this area at Northern can sometimes make 1.5, 2 times or more as much in terms of money if they're working in the private sector or somehow off campus. And so that's the reality. I mean, it's not, we don't throw our hands up in the air because of that. We work harder and find the right fit. But I think, we're working hard to recruit faculty at the graduate side of things. And I'm confident, we've dedicated budget space and resources. We'll find the right group, and that graduate program will be clicking along the same way the undergraduate program is very soon.
Great. Can you touch on something that you have talked a lot about, I'm sure, in many different settings, but perhaps people on this call may not know much about it, the Okanagan Charter? What is it? Why are we doing this? A little bit of brief background on it, and then how it's kind of filtering into the things that we're doing moving forward.
Well, you talk about this in the UP and people are like, oh, the Ontonagon Charter, no, it's not the Ontonagon Charter, it's the Okanagan Charter. And I say that, kind of tongue in cheek, but I say that because we do have some work to do in kind of educating and normalizing that term. And the Okanagan Charter actually was first signed in 2015. So I think about 45 universities from around the world gathered in Western Canada in Okanagan, hence the name, which is in British Columbia. And they said, look, we're noticing that like at the local level, so on our campus, there's more and more concern about well-being, kind of mental health challenges, the sense of belonging, the kind of the human element of our students and our employees is challenging right now. And also they noticed that the globally, nationally and globally, of course, the well-being of the natural setting was also kind of being challenged. And it wasn't about any statement about, the why behind that. It was really about just noticing that the environment was being affected and that was intersecting with the well-being of individuals, the well-being of kind of the culture on campus. And it was something to look at. And so this group of universities signed on to the Okanagan Charter, and they said universities can take action. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with individuals, and we are going to understand that well-being is a complex and kind of comprehensive thing that needs to be addressed. It's physical, absolutely. You got to have good physical health, but there's also a mental health and kind of emotional health side of it. So let's commit to addressing that. The second part of it is that around individuals, the way that those individuals interact with each other and respect each other, the way that you make sure you welcome diverse ideas on campus from right or left or up or down or whatever, that's an important part of having a challenging experience on a campus, learning what the real world works like, or how it works, and then also just building a sense of community and belonging. So kind of campus culture was built around the individual part of the Okanagan Charter. And again, I mentioned the natural setting. It was about the environment and saying, look, around all of that is the engagement between human beings and the natural environment. So that's been out there for a number of years. And last April, Northern, after a lot of consideration, and Carrie Schuling, Jim Haveman, Abigail Weich, Dale Kapla, whom I mentioned, a number of faculty members, they kind of got Northern connected to that effort, and momentum swelled. And I was the one sitting at the table signing it in April, and I was so excited and privileged to do that. But it was really a number of people who made it possible. And we were the 17th institution in the country to sign on to that. One of the first of the kind of regional public institutions to do it. And what I said at the time, and I believe this now, and I think we're following through on the pledge, is that we're the 17th institution to sign on to this charter. But we're going to be at the front of the pack, maybe number one overall in terms of implementing the call to action, actually, moving on the charter and not just kind of sticking it on the wall as a signatory. And so what we've done is we built leadership capacity in those areas. And we've said, we're going to work with our local community. We're going to work with the national and global community when we can in order to promote well-being. And I want to be clear. That's not part of any kind of national movement. It's not a statement about a connection, with one sort of set of beliefs or another. This is about something we own at Northern. It's rooted here in Marquette on our campus because of the traditions that we have here, the concerns we have here. Look, we've connected a lot with our Indigenous community here because they have special perspective to offer. We've connected with our local employers and industry partners because there's a particular economic profile here and workforce profile here that we respect. This is us. It's about our core values, not about a statement of how we're located within any other context. And I'm really proud of that. It's homegrown. It'll stay that way. But I'll tell you, our students believe in it, our faculty believe in it, and the connection to the community and the region has been enhanced because of that. So everybody on the call can kind of look out for more on the Okanagan Charter as we move forward.
Great. We are getting down on time, but I'm trying to get everybody's questions in here. So quick one from Curtis. Are there any interest from NMU regarding joining NCAA Division I athletics?
Well, I'll tell Curtis, we are an NCAA Division I school in the sense that our men's hockey team is a big time player. And you all know that. I say that kind of tongue in cheek. I'm sure everyone realizes that. It is interesting that we have this dual component of NCAA Division I athletics and then mostly D2. We do, of course, have a really healthy club and sort of, alternative organization set of programs as well that are not NCAA affiliated, strictly speaking. We could grow our profile there. That's a huge decision. I mean, Curtis, like I said, and by luck of the draw, I was a skinny distance runner, but I was a Division I athlete in college. It meant a lot to me. I know it means a lot to our hockey athletes. I'll tell you, being in the GLIAC and in the various Division II conferences we're in, it also means a lot to our student athletes. I'd look at it if the right opportunity came up. You go down that road, you've got to have the resources, you've got to be committed, and you've got to know it's exactly the right target. And so I'd want to make sure that we thought very carefully about it. But yeah, that'd be an exciting opportunity if the right one came up.
Yeah. All right, a question that I'm sure lately you've had to answer a lot, but what do you anticipate will be the biggest change in higher education in the next 3 to 5 years or so?
Yeah. I'm going to cheat. I'll invoke my presidential privilege, and I know we're at time. I also know the only reason people really come to these things, they want those t-shirts, Kylie. So I don't want to short circuit our t-shirt raffle at the end, but such a big question. This is what, if there's something that keeps me up at night, well, it's actually not that. It's campus safety is what keeps me up at night, to be honest. But if there were sort of a bigger picture, philosophical thing that kept me up at night, you know, you heard about this notion, the demographic cliff. It's really about declining number of high school graduates as our population profile shifts. That's a big deal. And most presidents in my role would say that's their biggest concern. I don't want to sell us short or sort of, hex us on this. We're going to work through that one. I'm so confident in our team. I'm so confident in this place. There may be fewer high school graduates overall, but we're going to get a bigger share of those graduates. And so I would say that's my fake answer, but it is going to be a big change. If you read, the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, that's what you'll read a lot about is the demographic cliff. We're a public institution in a much more engaged and kind of, I won't say concerned, but I'm plugged into how our public sees us at Northern. And look, it's not that I could care less, but we're so many light years away from the Harvards or the Stanfords or the, Yales of the world. I'm not worried about those kind of private institutions and what's happening. I'm curious about it. Northern is rooted here. We're rooted in the state of Michigan. State taxpayers make us a viable operation. I am very concerned about our ability to continue to maintain and hopefully grow public trust in what we're doing here. And the public should have so much trust in what we do here. But I'm concerned about it. We've got to work on that every single day with our messaging. We've got to make sure we own the decisions that we make here, and we do. And I very much want to see, our ability to serve the community and serve the state, not just maintained, but grow over the next 5 years. Some other institutions are not going to do that, but we're laser focused on it. And I very much hope to report back in 3 or 4 or 5 years that Northern is really bucking that trend. So it's a big task. It's on us, but we have good reason to be optimistic.
Great. All right, let's close out with something fun. Tell me what your absolute favorite thing about these opportunities, connecting with alumni, whether it's in person, whether it's like this. What's your favorite thing about staying engaged with our Wildcats who are out there in the real world doing real amazing things, like you mentioned?
Real quick, I talk a lot about the quality of the experience at Northern for our students and employees. And I say, it's exceptional. And it leaves a mark on, students in such a positive way, professionally and personally. Our alumni out there are like just the immense validation of that approach. I just feel like the connection our alumni have with Northern is because that's true. The experience you have here together and educationally, et cetera, is outstanding. And so I think that is a really big part of it. I also love being surprised. And it's just, every time I go to an event, it's a new surprise of an adventure that our alumni are on, a big accomplishment, just reasons for us to be proud. So those would be my 2 answers.
Great. All right. Well, I made you talk a lot this hour, so thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate you answering all of the questions that our alumni had. As I mentioned, we'll be doing this again once a semester, so look out after homecoming. This year is our 125th anniversary celebration, as we mentioned a couple times, so there's going to be a little bit more beef to homecoming weekend. So put it on your calendars now. If you're already in Marquette, come and see us. You want to jump in?
Yeah, respect everyone's time. I know we're at 8, but you've got to come back for homecoming this year. It's our 125th anniversary. We'll have a big event, of course, for homecoming. We'll be announcing our new strategic plan. We hope to announce the public phase of our fundraising campaign. There's going to be a ton of messaging, kind of coordinated messaging around it. So you'll hear about it, but you heard it here first, and make time in mid-September to come back to Marquette for that event. It's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mark your calendars, September 19th through the 21st. So make your plans now. get your hotel rooms booked. We want to see you here on campus, or if you're in town, we want to make sure that you come to these events. So I did choose 5 winners while we were chatting from those who joined us today. So congratulations to David Boyd, Curtis Golden Petit, John Hebert, David Erdahl, and Andrea Numakowski for winning alumni t-shirts. I'll send you all emails tomorrow so I can get your addresses, and we'll send you out our really cool new alumni t-shirts that we just got a couple months ago. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Tessman, for taking the time to provide this really valuable update to our alumni. Make sure we have your updated contact information so you know when we're coming to cities near you or things that are coming up. Keep in touch. Tell us about great things happening in your life. And thank you so much for staying connected and loving NMU as much as we do. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everybody. Be well.